All right, I guess the slide's up, so I guess we can start our game chat. Hi, everybody. Again, I am Rodney. This is Mandi. We've been here. You know who we are.
Exactly.
We were asked to do a little panel discussion, and some questions were collected from people who are going to be attending. And there are way more questions than there is possibly we're going to have time for here, so we're going to just try to get through as many of them as possible.
Yes, exactly.
And then we'll just end when we're at time, which will be at about quarter after 20 after 11. All right? So shall we just jump in?
Let's just jump
We're going
right
to sit down because we're going to be casual. We're hanging out now, all right?
Is that all right with you? We have a little seat?
You guys see us okay from here? Is this fine? Okay.
Okay, well, we've done this part already.
Oh, yeah, we did it.
Hey-o.
Hey, it's us.
It's us. Okay, well, we did that. Okay.
Oh, this is a good question. Yeah, we wanted to start just by asking, if you don't mind just sort of shouting out what part of the industry are you from? Some of your different areas, right?
So,
We're in media, for example.
yep, content creation, media. What about all of you?
Retailers.
Retail.
Lots of retail.
Working cafe.
Board Game Cafe.
Board game
Board Game
pub. Club or pub?
Restaurant back.
Oh, okay.
Full service restaurant.
Convention organization.
Oh.
Convention organization.
Okay, something that's come out.
And all those shy media creators back there. I know you.
I know,
you
right? We
back
see
there,
them.
yeah.
It's fine. I can say. It's okay.
I'm a retailer and a fitness content creator as well.
Okay.
And a fitness content creator, did you say?
Interesting. Oh, we
you-
need to have a chat later. If you don't mind, because I'm offering your services to myself.
Really? Okay. Well, welcome.
Yes.
Welcome to the space.
One more retail here, but I did have a question because sometimes playtesting goes on in the store. How many of you that said retail would also say some kind of game development because of playtesting or some connection? Because that. Okay.
Not too many, it doesn't look
No.
like. Yeah. Interesting. Because you're right, you do end up seeing some of that happening in store, right? Development clubs, too, will sometimes come to retail shops.
Exactly. Okay.
All right, well, we got a sense of the room, I think.
This is kind of just an overview of what we're going to do today.
If we get to it.
If we get to it. That was the plan. But we'll see how it goes. Okay. So I'll just
Yeah.
put the head there. All right. This is for, see, I'm the teacher in me needs to put visuals. So audience participation with ideas. So it's questions for all of you. Using one word, describe tabletop trends. I know, this is a tricky one.
Or anything that's like, because this is one of the questions we got asked, it was, what are some of the current and future tabletop trends that we see? And we'll share some of our own thoughts, but we thought what's that?
Karaoke.
Karaoke, yeah, apparently it's a new
like it,
tabletop
I like
trend
it.
now. Just terrifying for me, but yes, apparently.
Components.
Yeah.
The components.
The
Components.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. What else?
Because we're seeing more changes too in the components with screen printed wooden pieces and things like that. Yeah.
Any others?
Solo.
Solo.
Yes, that's
Hey.
right. More solo play.
No. Anything else? This is a hard one.
Nature.
Nature.
Nature,
Yes.
yes.
There's been
Nature,
for sure.
cozy games, I think, are another trend that's being passed around more recently. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any others?
Visual.
Visual? Yeah.
Visuals are very important.
Absolutely. Very important.
I have one. Can I have one?
Yes, please. Please.
Trick taking. Has anyone noticed a big uptick in trick taking games? Right?
Technically, yes. No. Okay. it is.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm cheating. I can cheat. I'm on stage and I have a microphone. I can cheat if I want.
The rolling rates.
Yes. I feel like trick taking is always coming into that category again. We're seeing so many of them, sort of like the Roll Lights game along, or small box games as well. I mean, I played a trick taking game the other day. Anyone familiar with GMT Games, the war game publisher? They have a war game that's a trick taking war game. So it's even happening in there. And it was actually quite fascinating.
So add two-player like remake.
That's true. We're seeing more of these dual formats. That was even announced here, right? Like with different games. That's right. And they're actually changing the rules to cater more towards that two-player experience.
Absolutely.
You know, I was talking to one of the members of Lion Rampant here, Richard, who drove us from the airport very kindly. He mentioned that one of the trends that he's seeing is a move towards, I'd be curious for those of you who are retailers, if you're seeing this, to lower cost games, cost of inflation, everything. Instead of the big, $150 giant boxed game, there's more people coming in going, like, what can I get for $30? What can I want a robust gaming experience in a smaller box for $30 or $40. Are you seeing that in the stores? Is that trend happening? Are people shying more away from the larger box games and towards the smaller ones?
Well, also mixing that with environmentally friendly.
Yes.
Right.
That's definitely been what I've been noticing as well.
Yeah, actually, I've noticed a few of the games I've received recently, the inserts themselves, instead of being plastic, are now more, and we've had cardboard before, but it's a different kind of molded cardboard, so it's almost like a plastic insert, but it's not, you know? Trying to think, I think the last, was it the last Catan game I picked up had like a molded, almost, cardboard insert.
Okay. Well, there was another one. It's Daybreak.
Yes?
It's a Matt Leacock game, and the whole theme of the game, had to do with environmentally friendly, and all the components were all recyclable, like all the things to.
Right, yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
We're seeing a lot more of that coming to light for sure. Absolutely. I think I had something else on that list. Someone mentioned
probably did.
solo.
Yeah, it's because one of the things we had written down here too was approachable RPGs
Yes.
and even solo RPGs. We're seeing more options that way.
Right. Because I know I'm not a solo gamer, but I do play a lot of solo RPGs. And I've been talking to a lot of people, and they're saying that is something that they're seeing that's becoming more popular. And also approachable RPGs. Maybe it's just trying to get more people onto the scene with that. But like, just, I don't know if it's like little starter kits or sets, and making it easier for people to get into that.
I was going to say, trends are interesting. They're important, I suppose, but I have to imagine what's more important is who's the customers in your store, because something might be very, very hot, but if your customers aren't interested in it, then it doesn't matter so much. I know we make some efforts to highlight certain games in the industry that we think are interesting, but that's not always going to translate to your customers necessarily, right? Absolutely. But I would imagine curation is a pretty hot trend. When you have over 3,000 games releasing a year, you have to narrow down for your consumers and customers who are coming in, right?
Exactly. I know we had how successful have you been predicting trends?
Yeah, have any of you felt successful? I feel terrible. People ask, what's the next trend in gaming? And I feel like I would never have guessed the things that have caught on. Roll and writes, I never would have thought that. I would never thought trick taking would suddenly become so popular.
Exactly.
It's very difficult.
Forever, right?
I suppose if you could predict it, it'd probably be.
Just watch TikTok.
Is that okay? Is that
pretty accurate,
your research is TikTok? Well done.
Need to predict a lot of things, though. Absolutely. All right. So that's what we were just talking about.
Yep.
And does anybody have any questions about tabletop trends? I think we kind of covered that.
I think one of the things that just as a cap on that, it feels to me like if you're producing a game now, you have to be hitting on all cylinders, whether it's art, production, because everything's so elevated now, right? Even rule books, I would say, if you're not putting a good rule book in your game, then you are creating a pretty massive barrier. It's a little thing I like to yammer on about, but I think it's just a box of stuff without those rules, right? Until you can decode what you're supposed to do with it. So, yeah.
All right. Let's go into what games we like to play.
Yes.
We have some sub-questions here. What makes a great game? The ideal balance and tension between storytelling, aesthetic components, and play mechanics. And what makes a new game exciting? So we're going to take a look at a few.
I looked at the games. I like my favorite games in 2023, and they're all over the map. I liked Sleeping Gods, People Power, Veil of Eternity, Sagrada Artisan. So we got like campaign games in there. We got legacy games in there, small card games. I know it's not a 2023 title, but Star Wars Unlimited kind of like got its claws in me a little bit there, I have to admit. I played Altered yesterday. I'm a little worried that's going to get its claws in me. But yeah, I'm kind of all over the map. What about yourself?
I would say I'm all over the map, but I definitely have favorites. Like, I definitely like my crunchy, Euro, dry, worker placement type games. But I also like RPGs. So I kind of go between those. So I'm like a little all over the map. Trick-taking games, roll and writes, those are some of my favorites as well. So yeah, I think I kind of like a bit of everything. I generally tend to avoid social deduction, anything to do with memory, or anything to do with speed. I don't know if it just gives me a lot of stress. I sweat. Someone will attest in here, David. We played Umbrella last night, and I was sweaty. So, just saying. So, but, there are so many other games that I can choose from. So,
I was thinking, like, when I look at my collection and what games I'm going to get off my shelf, a lot of times I'm not just thinking, what do I want to play?
Yeah.
But what do I want to teach?
Also that.
You know what I mean? Like, one of the things I think about with games that get published is I wish there was... And there's some that do it quite well, but better player aids and things like that to assist you. Because I might have a pretty decent memory of the rules, but if I have to start from scratch again, which is going to happen if it's been 6 months since I played.
I know this great YouTube channel. It's all
That does.
This is not me self-promoting. That's not what this is.
Sure it isn't.
No, it
Rodney.
isn't. Because I can't do all the games. And there are games that you open the box and I think if I'm going to have to go through 30 pages of rules again, having those player aids, a lot of times my decision is what am I going to play? Well, what am I going to want to teach right now from scratch,
Yeah, exactly.
especially when there's so many games releasing, there's such long gaps potentially between playing the games that you want to play.
Well, and this is why good rule books are very important.
Yeah.
Right? Which we had that discussion earlier. And player aids, I think I talk about this anytime I do a review. It doesn't have to be hard to have that. I don't know. Is that just something and then I guess I'm always trying to find out what's the reasoning why there isn't a player aid. Or there'll be one book that just gets passed around. It's on the back of the book and everyone's using it. And you can always tell how difficult it is with the game when your rule book is bent and crinkled because it's holding back the page and handing it over here. That's a good indication player aids are necessary. So I encourage the player aid.
Yeah, agreed.
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
So, do you find that you curate your game collection quite often? Both because you both have so many, or are you too sensitive and worried up?
Oh, interesting question. So are you a hoarder or do you purge?
Okay.
Do you cull?
I try to do it. So I help run a local game convention in my community. So that's my yearly purge. Now, I think I did it last year and I'm still at an embarrassing 700 games. So.
Well, that's over double me.
Start.
I tend to be a little more ruthless, I think, perhaps. Something that was really helpful to me was I put my collection into tiers. This is the B tier, A tier. All the games I have in my collection I love. But there are certain games that 9 times out of 10 I'm passing over for something else. And at that point, then I start to think, well, maybe it's time to pass this on to someone who this would be the game they would pick off the shelf and play.
But that's why it's hard for me. And I don't know if anybody else falls into this. I have nephews, so there's I have the kids game shelf, or I have new players, so I have the new players shelf. So they're not necessarily games that I would play all the time. But if I'm entertaining or, just trying to get more people in the hobby, I have games to choose from. I don't know, maybe it's an ADHD.
Yeah, I've heard this
thing, but I need the
self-rationalization
selection.
before.
Okay,
Yeah.
You're entertaining a lot of people.
I do entertain a lot of people. Or I bring them to the local game convention for the library. So, I have reasons. I don't know about anybody else.
Mandy, we didn't mention, but this is an intervention. We're all here to talk to you about.
I'm sorry. I feel seen.
No, but this is something that we got discussed. I was talking to Jerome from ELO, and because we talked about this before. There are people, though, who get a great deal of satisfaction from their collection. And there was a point where I have to admit, I was maybe a little more pragmatic. I looked at it if you're not playing it, then what's the point? Once you got a layer of dust on it, maybe it's time to move it along, right? But there are people who they get a great deal of satisfaction out of the memory. It's like having a photo on the wall, that box,
Yep.
right? And so I have a different appreciation for it now.
That emotional connections. I have some games I probably will never play, but there was an experience that I had with it or with someone, and I keep it.
How about the rest of you? I don't know, it's hard probably to respond in a short, succinct way, but is that something that you all have to deal with in your own personal lives and I suppose in your stores as well, right?
Yeah, definitely a big source. Learning to call material what's down the main, finding ways to get rid of it fast. Sometimes that's make a demo copy of it, or I put it on discount, or find people who are sponsors for various whatevers, donate events, or finding a garbage stand eventually. Just taking up space because retail space.
Right. I think it's got to be one of the biggest challenges for retailers is figuring out how much of anything do I bring in, knowing the risk of it sitting there if it doesn't move, right?
Reading tea leaves.
Yeah, reading the tea leaves. That's why I say about the trends again, if we could predict them, it would change our lives.
Let's start off by saying what was the number?
Yeah, 4,945 games were entered in BGG in 2023, not counting expansions.
Yeah.
50 of those titles.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
And we know out of all those titles, there are going to be some that will stick and perhaps have a life beyond that year, but many, many won't, right? Because there's just so many. A blessing and a curse. Yeah.
Going to add to this.
Please.
Yeah.
As a store owners, we have a couple of stores and we have a 4K restaurant, but the amount of space you're willing to take away from the evergreen that you have on your shelf already to try all of that new stuff, if it doesn't stick, you still don't have the inventory that would normally sell. So you have to be a lot more selective about what do we bring in and what do we pass on for the moment. But then as soon as someone walks in and do you have a Catan? Well, no, because I have this space opera thing stick.
The space opera thing, yes.
But yeah, you want some of the new stuff, but you can't crowd your store with it. Otherwise, you won't have any of your regular stuff that you normally because we serve more family-oriented. Because, well, Catan, Carcassonne, and all the classics are still going to be on a shelf in 10 years from now. But then, of course, there's going to be new classics added to this with the new games, but 4,000 a year?
Yeah,
That's too much.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious, if you don't mind me asking another question, do you find it more effective to pick games that you personally have a passion and interest in because you're going to have an easier time selling it? Or do you look for trends, what's popular, and try to see what's going to catch? Have you had success with both? Does one win out over the other more often?
You really balance it. You need to play to your strengths. Like my store, I can sell party games all day long, no problem. It's super easy.
All right.
Selling a big crunchy Euro games,
Yeah.
that's a lot tougher. You know, I really like them.
Yes.
I can really pitch them, and there's some that I can sell very well. It's still not going to outsell Joe Matsu. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you got to play your strengths. Reading the tea leaves is also knowing your strengths and balancing. It's really tough to do. It's about yeah. I think it really comes down to the areas. What players or we kind of have a little bit of everything. He seems nice RPGs like Tape Clock and in Seal, Law and Attraction in all of those spaces. So it comes down to here we can okay outside trying to have an area as to what's going to work for your store
Versus somebody else's, yeah.
okay. So everybody's very, I think, different in what is going to work for them specific.
Really? Yeah, it makes sense. I think one of the problems that we have now is that with social media and everything is that the customers are probably more informed most of the time than we are.
Sure.
Yeah, that's fair. About games they like. So you're in fact competing not with your little community anymore. You're competing with everybody. And so like how do you keep in the range of games they know about when they come in? Because they're going to go, well, why don't you have this set? We just heard about this and we know everybody knows. Yeah.
Yes,
And it's like, well, okay, well, my supplier didn't know to get that yet. And so, well, okay, I'll get it from the States. So,
Can I ask a quick question? So many moons ago, I worked in fashion and retail and all of these things.
Never noticed.
Yeah, sorry, I guess, right? Surprise. Is like customer kind of retention files and following up. Do you do things like that where you take customer information and, these are the types of game they purchased. So then if something similar comes out, you can say, hey, can I call you or message you if this comes up, and then you can get them back in the store. Is this something that you do?
no, we do that, and very often we, like the thing we do is you'll hunt down a game.
Right.
That maybe it's kind of gone to bed for a while, and you got to hunt down somebody still has this somewhere. Right. So you can do that for them, but I think part of the problem with the cult of the new, which is still a thing, is that people come in and they want it this week, and if it isn't here this week, they forgot about it because next week they wanted this. Right. So
Yeah, I think you're kind of driving it. It's like it's not really even the cult of new anymore. It's like the cult of the very, very, very new. And you're right. Your customer is probably going to hear about that game maybe a little faster because they're not managing a whole store.
That's right.
You think you might be doing.
I feel like that's especially true for your heavy duty. Part of the reason why they don't sell so well, I think my experience too with Rodney stores is it's harder to sell those ones because they know about it long before you do.
Right.
And they, especially the heavy Euro game players, they're thrifty. They're gonna find it on Kickstarter or they're gonna find it elsewhere fast as shooters before you even heard of it. So you just break it in. It's almost it has to be impulse buy, but a lot of times not. Well, I mean to that point, Kickstarters made change. And so many people don't reorder through the retail space, and what's because they can do a direct Kickstarter, writing publisher, and have that hit right instead of waiting until they eventually triples down this huge. She was funny to slates.
And there's not certain components that the retailer will not get because it is easy.
There's that.
You have to buy direct versus the retailer buys, but maybe they don't have the selection of the
Do you find as retailers that the because I know this was a very, very big issue early on with Kickstarter, is the retailer was always coming in after. Now they started to add in more retailer packages, but are those a benefit, or is that still a struggle for retailers to take advantage of in a meaningful way? Because I guess you're still, again, have to make guesses, aren't you, as to how much to bring in?
Well, it's almost like they let you just do like a minimal $5 holding. You know, I'm interested in this retailer, and later on they'll be able to
Fixation.
or but it's really funny when Kickstarters don't have any resellers support whatsoever. Right. Never mind. But yes, point just completely skip over that point.
Yeah, you have to.
It's hard with Kickstarter because like the people that want the game are gonna get the Kickstarter, right? So like a lot of times there's no point, you know, and if it's a huge game like that, for example, like it's a lot of money up front for us, right? For it have something that potentially will say, you know,
Right.
you know. And then as far as like having people in the store that are excited about stuff, in our store we tend to find that it's one of our staff is excited about something, they show the community for it. Like personally, if I see somebody like kind of looking up a role-playing games, I'm like, hey, like what are you looking for?
Yeah.
Like, you know, find out like their experience level, you know, and try to help them find what they're looking for, like what they need, because they might not know about epic adventures, you know, and they might not know about stuff like that. So, but we find like community building is really important. And that, yeah, like having a staff member that is talking about something.
Kind of tapped in, right? That they can speak with authority and passion.
Absolutely.
And to answer your question about do we reach out, we have a tailor working for all our games for you to sign for notices when it comes back in. So basically, like, when times up for all the games, it says, hey, you got this now, so they can choose, hope that one come back. But we don't go, hey, you bought these last 3 days, you'll come.
And this is why beauty industry, and I know this is not the market for this, but beauty industry is $1 billion industry. There's a reason for that. They do things like that. Do you know what I mean? And as someone who goes into a lot of game stores and I don't always get the service that I'm expecting, that's a nice touch. Oh, I'd love that. You know what I mean? And some people may not, but they would appreciate that you're asking because you're thinking of them. So, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of... Oh, actually, yeah, we can jump into this one.
Oh, here's a very self-serving question. But it kind of actually goes to your point that you were saying earlier about trying to stay up to date on everything. And how many of you do have time or desire even to watch board game media in the space?
I'll straight up, and I'm not saying this just to flatter you or anything like that. Yes,
Oh, Rodney, get ready.
There are 4 channels that I will watch, and if I know you're covering something, I'll bring the game.
Okay.
There you go. And I'll look at that game and I'll go, and I could just say it. That's what Chaz said about the game. That's a horrible game. Chaz mentioned it though, beyond myself, as soon as like, yes.
Okay.
I feel like I need to send royalties to Rodney for the amount of time I sold that I learned to play it for.
Well, and I told you this last night.
Starting to get
last night I said, when we trained our staff, when I trained my staff, one of the things they do is actually watch one of your shows. Okay. And I say and it's not just to learn how you do it, but rather the idea is this is how it's affecting the audience that's coming in here. Because we have customers come in, they watch your show.
Okay.
And so you need to see what they're watching because you have to talk to them about it. Right. And so, yeah, I mean, it's clear. I mean, and I will say there are many times, and I don't know if my rep's in here, but in our discussion of the rep, I was bad-mouthing Tom Bassel. Because for the same reason, you know, you're like, there's just too many people watching him, you know, and I can't keep up with this crap.
Right, there is a lot. There's so much now, right? There's so much. When we started, like, there was like a handful of people doing media now, right? And we have so many more talented people in this space, and it's important because, again, with 4,000 odd games, it's possible to cover everything, right? And you also need additional voices in there.
Right.
I'm really glad to hear it's been helpful. Thank you for saying that. It's.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is helpful too. Like I said, I wouldn't make all my staff watch it if I didn't say you had a system that worked. You know.
Yeah. Thank you.
I know you want to say something.
Well, I just want to say kind of on my side. Here today says, yeah,
Okay.
wait, these were they must have been at a time. You know, everybody has to come online, see me call. and myself sports like the calmness. I'm ready to start getting a lot of this it's this battles. It's like you're working for an hour or play a day now. So that by meeting or set up a game or down the game, but right back there to this location like that you explain to they are in your way so they wait to see understand game of the session.
That's very nice. I appreciate to hear that.
A few hearts for Rodney.
You might know it. When I started the channel, it was with my kids. You know, like and playing games with them. Like the hobby has been such an important part of our lives. You know, like it's components in a box, but it's so much more. Like the experiences you have around the table. I'm really glad to hear that the hobby became such a meaningful part of your life to the point where you're here in this room right now. Right
now, I'm addicts.
All the things, right? All the
I think we're all in that boat a little bit. Yes.
Actually, not part of our family business. You know, Tom was here earlier saying we run and operate a hardware store in this swizzle. Right, T-built buildings, houses, and the essential should have Thomas. It's some people in Belmont, all of it. Theater sport games, they're independent. Like you're a psychosis, see who are interested in that buying people. There's much marks, get your mind, has to be time, right? Which was in sight. Suck this way. You would be able to provide to us in like a second. To go to us late, come if you think to like us, especially if the lot of movies that were locked up. And 2 hours supposed to have curbside deliveries out as well.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
Lights, product to solve the traffic. And we also think the technical about it is your kind of online songs have been calling the same police quickly as some people get you sorry.
Yeah.
But now product from being out to up 4,000.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, really? 4,000. Okay.
Nowhere near that. It's probably close to a little less than 1,000 games like that. I'm rolling with 50,000
Yeah.
So for hardware, so that's
Where are you located?
in Almont.
In Elmont. Okay. A hardware store full of board games too. I love it.
Yeah, our social media has been kicked up too. There's a lot of in the keyboard that got us up with hardware, so you can select.
Definitely got a hook, man. You.
And I had to bring the guy with the money along with me just to make sure he understood why.
Yeah.
It's essentially just a practice.
Thank you for saying I'm done.
Yeah, just wanted to add that as far as board game media go, when we started 10 years ago, that was the only way I could have gotten up to speed with all of that was already out.
Right.
And now the way that it's been going, there is no way we could keep up if it wasn't for you, because I play most of the game through you guys. I don't even get to play them anymore. I only get to learn them from you, so I can somewhat teach them to the people watching in our store. Of course, we do play some, but with the amount of games coming out, the only way we can get to speed with it is with you guys and like Tower and everybody around. So it is really important what you guys do.
This is Bosco. I'll get to you in a second. I just wanted to say that this is very thoughtful, very kind feedback. We certainly get a lot of feedback from our viewers, right? But to understand that there's a connection that hopefully has been helpful in board game media to the industry as well is very, very wonderful. Because I know for myself, that's what got me in. I was having a passion for the hobby. I was finding board gaming again in my life, but I lived in an area that was very remote, small town in Prince Edward Island. And it was media that I felt that, there's a whole community out here of people who share my same obsession. Like it was a really wonderful sort of thing to find, and to now be a part of it is great. But and again, as we see new media creators who are coming into the space, they're going to infect additional people with their enthusiasm. So it's a nice cycle. It's nice to see it, because I spend most of my time alone in my basement. So hearing this kind of feedback is actually quite meaningful. Thank you. Yeah, Bosco, you had a
So I wanted to say thank you for the media people. Like if you look at the views, how many views on all these video, that means how many people are reached to explain these board games. And I do truly believe that without this social media age, the business could be like without board game, I don't think there's still.
It helps people find people, right? Like I said, it helped me find other people who were interested. It fueled my passion, and I'm really glad to hear that.
And also like the amount of time you spend, you may not make up the money for it, but people do it for passion.
Yeah.
And the one who benefit is the retail. So I think this is like so awesome. Yeah. So thank you, Vinny.
And just to kind of add to that, I think that the media side really makes the entire industry more accessible, more that Riley actually first came crossing because of that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And we stumbled across, and from there it literally snowballed into exploring hunting hero videos, other, and to the point now where people come in and say, well, what's this game about? I can explain that and then say, what more you
Right. You want to take that deeper dive? Yes. Yeah.
do that, go here.
Right.
Check out some or X or whoever, because one really great that. And it's amazing how they'll come. See, that was amazing. Now I've got all the other things like too.
Right, it's been great for our Tuesday nights where it's either the learn to play or it's the tournament style where it's like they send you the stuff to ref tournaments, but you have a little time to do it, so you attach the Lego. Watch this video, come down to the tournament, wait, surprise.
You might be a little more prepared. You can jump in a little more confidently. Right. Okay.
I jumped into one being mind of the video.
Yeah.
And I got stuck in place.
All right.
fantastic.
High five.
So what I'm hearing, it's mostly video.
Yeah.
It's mostly video that people
Taking YouTube, TikTok, those types of platforms, I think, really driven of the last 5 years or so. To this is bringing brand more people in. I'm really excited. We have somebody coming in and saying, hey, you have this because ice on screen. Right. It's time to change. Well,
This is good to hear because I'm more of a podcaster. So I was part of the Dice Tower podcast for, gosh, how long was that?
A while.
A long time.
Yeah, many years.
Yeah, so we're still doing that. More little videos. We definitely do different content than Rodney. So I was curious to hear if it's a lot more videos people listen to. Is it more podcasts? So
Yeah, so I mean, from customers, I hear a lot more about videos. Yeah. But for me personally, right, like it's so much easier to find time for podcasts.
Hop on I'm the same way. I'm a podcast guy too.
that's what I've been hearing from people. They can go to work and listen to
I mean, yours is great. It's like on my queue, yeah. But like it's a great way for me to have been able to sort of keep up to date on what things are coming and what the reactions are to things. I mean, the videos, Rodney's videos help a lot when I'm like trying to learn the game or.
But it requires a more dedicated sit down. I'm doing this now, as opposed to a podcast allows you to be doing something else, right? While you're,
No, that's good to hear.
absorbing info.
Yeah. Let me, because I think we kind of got it.
Yeah, I think we did this very nicely.
So,
Thank
can
you,
I just
everybody.
throw up some examples of
Yeah.
some of our top performing videos. So my channel before was To Die For Games many moons ago. And this is probably before this or Too Many Bones, I think, would be the top two performing. And Apocrypha, there's a story here. Has anyone played Apocrypha? Really? It's a lot. It's a big game. And apparently it was very difficult to learn. And we got people watching the video and we're like, this should be the video that's on the page for the game. And we were like, we didn't know how to take that. I'm like, well, we don't want to insult the people, that did that. But then they came back and said, you know what? It's really well done. We'll put it on the page. And that's probably the one that most people have watched because they've been able to figure out the game from that. So we really appreciated that.
Yeah, I thought this might be of interest to some of you here. Like I looked at what the most viewed videos were in March, and these are the games. So maybe this would be of interest to you to know, like, oh, these are the games that people seem to be looking for to learn. So here's what the number one was in March: Star Wars Unlimited, and then it was Monopoly. Wingspan was next after that. Dune Imperium, Terraforming Mars, Backgammon, Catan, Ticket to Ride, Scythe, Clue, Everdale, Brass Birmingham, Stone Spine Architects, a newer title, Arkham Horror the card game. That was in March. Those are the most viewed of the 500 some odd tutorials I've done. Those are the ones that in March were the ones that getting the most views. So those are the things that maybe people are still kind of looking for. I did a tutorial video for Monopoly, and it's one of my favorite videos to do, actually, because so many people, of course, play with house rules and variants, and they don't actually play it according to the rules. But it's still interesting too to see the questions that people ask around that game. They're mystified by the fact that if they own two properties and their friend has the other property, how am I supposed to build houses? Like, it's the sort of thing, they go, well, you can't, but I must be able to, right? And no, you can't, you know? And so, but I think through videos like that, it's also introduced them to the larger, because they come into the channel, they learn how to play Monopoly, and they learn about Wingspan, and they learn about these other very attractive, appealing looking games. So,
Yeah. It's good to have a diversity. Ours seem to all be all the like heavy games, the ones that people are struggling.
yeah, sure.
So no, I love that it's diverse.
The demographics of the channel too, like, run between 25 and 35, and I would say when I started, it skewed older. So I'd say it's like we're seeing more diversity in ages now too among the hobby, and it was 19% female. It used to be like 8%, I would say. So we've seen some growth there. Still quite a disparity there, but it's changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think we cut.
And we're kind of at time, honestly. I think
We're actually almost done. There's only a couple more slides.
Okay.
I think this is important. Barriers in tabletop
Right.
gaming. Do you want to jump into that?
Well, sure. I mean, one of my things I always say is rule books. I won't say it again, but I think it is a pretty big barrier because there's very few activities where you have to study a manual before you get to enjoy the thing that you bought, but that's the nature of it. I think there's also still a stigma to board games. I think that's changing quite a bit, but I still get sometimes funny looks when I talk about it. Although, you know what? Recently, I was coming back from a trip. I was in the UK for a convention there, and I was coming through border security, and they wanted to know where I'd been and what I'd been doing. And I said I was playing board games, and they said, which one? And I always stumble on this because I don't want to, if I say the games I've actually been playing, they're not going to believe those are real board game titles. That's what I'm always thinking. But I don't want to say Monopoly because that's not actually true. And if I lie, I start to go red in the face. And so then it came to me, I'll say Star Wars Unlimited because I'm like, Star Wars in the title, he'll recognize that. So I said Star Wars Unlimited. He's like, okay, what kind of game is that? It's a card game. And you build, you make, was it deck building game? And I went, what? He started throwing gamer terms at me, and as I was leaving, I heard him say to himself, Star Wars Unlimited, like he was writing it down, like he was going to go look into it. So I think there is a greater awareness of our hobby, and it's changing, and there's more enthusiasm, excitement about it. I think in the what we might call the general public, who might not normally be aware of it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, the amount of border, like, customs agents that I encounter that are actually gamers is a really high percentage.
Maybe that's the next study we need done by Game and Lab.
Yeah. I know for me, my experience has maybe been a little different
Yes.
than yours coming to tabletop gaming. Maybe, I don't know if it's the type of games I like to play or whatever the case may be, but I've definitely dealt with some things in the industry. Being a woman of color, it's not something that everybody here will experience, but definitely it has been a factor. And that's probably why I got into content creation to begin with. So it is changing. Progress is slow. When you have voices like myself, Suzanne Sheldon, she's been in the industry, and I have to acknowledge her because she's amazing, and she's been in this a long time. There were some barriers there for us that, potentially still exist, and we want to make it a little bit easier for others. So, going forward, we hope that continues to change.
Well, I think too, in the early days of around 2011, when I joined the board game media space, I felt like there was people like yourself, like Suze, were talking about these kind of issues that often were either dismissed as unimportant or irrelevant, or there was pretty hard pushback against it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you didn't always have the support there that you deserved in those times, and that's changing. But there's still a lot of work to be done, and that work has happened because of the work that you and Suze have put into it, and many others. So
yeah, and we have support from people like Rodney who say, hey, I noticed this as well, and happy to support you. So that is really important. So I do have to acknowledge that.
Oh.
We've seen the changes on your channel, the people you've included. Love it. So hearts to Rodney for that as well.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Because there's a lot of people out there who don't necessarily realize that board gaming can be them. They haven't seen themselves reflected in the games, and it makes a big difference. And we have seen some good changes. There was a time when, like, if I was playing a game with my family, it's like, okay, which bikini color would you like on your chainmail figure? You know?
Exactly.
And now there's more options for my daughter and my wife, and I'm glad for that. So.
Exactly. And coming into stores, I think I mentioned it earlier, I'm not going to go into too much detail, being welcoming. I know some people, you might be having a bad day. There's a store in particular that we have in Ottawa that, they're a little grumpy. They know me, so they tolerate me. But and I mean that actually in a nice way, because that's how it works there. You don't want to feel like that when you want to go into a store. You want someone who's knowledgeable about the games, who makes you feel welcome when you come in. Because guess what? If you make me feel good, I want to buy more things, right? And I'll want to come back. So that's just something I would kind of throw out there for some stores to keep in mind with their customer service.
I think something else too, I was thinking about, because we had the presentation from Access Plus, right? And then we had the two researchers who were here, and I was thinking about, like, again, it sort of takes a larger company like Asmodee, who has those resources to be able to put into things like that push the hobby in directions that, honestly, I couldn't push it in that direction. I could talk about it, but I wouldn't be able to do the research. I don't have that expertise. Someone's got to do that. That's going to be paid by somebody. And I think those kind of initiatives are really important. And it's exciting to see that happening here. I think it's a positive thing.
When I saw that they were doing that, the autism and gaming, that's amazing. So looking forward to what comes out of that more.
And I think there's a business side to it too. Like if this is a part of our customer base that we don't realize have maybe some of these struggles, then becoming more aware of it allows us to cater the product and our approach to it. And there's a benefit to everybody, I think.
Absolutely. I'm going to make neurospicy a thing. So that is going to be the term going forward. Oh, goodness. Okay.
Hey, we did it. We sort of got to the end. We ran a little long. Thank you, everybody, for being patient with us.
Sticking with us.
Yeah. Thank you
so much. We appreciate you.
Well, I know I've made a mess here. I have all my papers. I'm throwing them. Listen, why don't we just wrap right into the closing remarks so you guys can get on your way. I just want to thank you all for being here at this event. Again, for Line Rampant Imports and Asmodee Canada for putting this on along with the partners. I have to admit, I feel somewhat patriotic. That's being a Canadian event and being a Canadian and celebrating the Canadian industry. It feels good, right? Like it's nice and having a neighbor smeltsware. Yes. And it was a real pleasure to do this for the first time here. Mandy's been here before. It was an honor to share the stage with you, Mandy. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you all for being here. And there will be, it's in my notes. Hold on. There are boxed lunches between 12 and 1 in the Garden View foyer. So you can grab, they're already there. Great. So you can go grab some food on your way. Safe travels, everyone.
Yes.
Oh, and a survey too.
Do the surveys. I know people were mentioning how awesome the food was. Put it in the survey so we can see more of that next year. If you don't like something, put that too.
Yeah.
Also show the love as well.
Yeah.
So please do the survey.
The team wants to keep doing a better and better job every year, so your feedback really helps.
For you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you,
So,
everybody.
Thank you so much. À la prochaine, and have safe travel.
Cheers. Thank you.